History that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history in this country that nobody knows about. There are pyramids here, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over this country. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. Rockwall, Texas. Population 38,000. Claim to fame, the mysterious wall said to snake for miles beneath the city. 3 farmers stumbled across the massive stone wall in 1852. It's rumored to be 20 miles long and 7 stories deep. And people in these parts believe it was the work of an ancient civilization. Rumor has it the wall used to be above ground, but the wall and the truth about its origin have been buried over time. I don't know what to think. All I know is I want to see this thing for myself. You must be Adam.
You must be Scott.
How you doing?
Good to meet you. Thanks for coming out.
Hey, happy to be here. I'm really glad you called about this rock wall. I must have gotten 50 emails or telephone calls about this mysterious wall, so I had to come down and check it out.
Yeah, I bet you did. It's pretty popular. Obviously, the town was named after the wall, so a lot of people know about it. I brought you here because there's actually a small piece of the wall that's been reassembled here on site at the courthouse.
Okay.
If you have a minute, I'd like to take you over and have a look at it.
Absolutely. I didn't see anything here, but I figured you had us meet here for a reason.
The wall's right over here. Let's have a look.
You lead the way. So tell me a little bit about this rock wall.
Well, back in the 1850s, 1860s, when Rockwall was founded, they kept finding this wall, and they would use pieces of it for the wells, the well houses, and some of the buildings. Matter of fact, if you have a look, right here we have a restaurant that was built in 1890. Some of the rocks used on the side of it were actual rocks from the wall itself.
Oh, so this whole wall here, this is some of the actual rock that came from the rock wall.
That's it.
Well, I take it that's not what you wanted to show me,
That's
though.
not exactly what I wanted to show you. Now, this is an actual piece of the wall that was removed and then reassembled here by the Rockwall Historical Foundation. So you can see the rocks as they were, as best they could be recreated. What do you think?
Well, I think it's very interesting. I mean, these are, like you said, rocks that came from the site, but obviously this is man-made mortar. This has been recently reassembled. I mean, I heard stories about this thing being 7 stories deep into the ground, and as a geologist, as far as figuring out if it's man-made or natural, I really have to see it.
Sure, I understand. Well, I brought some pictures along for you to have a look at.
Okay.
So if you look at them, tell me what you think of these.
Sure. Well, look at that. That looks like a man-made wall.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looks just like the man-made wall we have down here that was taken with the real stones.
It really does. That looks exactly like mortar there. You know, as I look at these edges here, it almost looks like they've been worked or tooled.
You'll find that with a lot of the stones at the wall. You'll find symmetry on all 4 sides. You'll find parallel lines.
Okay.
They don't look like natural geological formations to most people.
Well, those look like they could very well have been dressed. And there's a big slab right there.
So you don't find a complete randomness to the structure of the wall itself. You find a lot of uniformity in certain places.
Okay, like it's been man-made.
That's what it suggests to me.
I'm looking at these pictures, and I mean, I had all these people contact me about this, but before that, I never knew anything about this. Why is that?
I think that there may have been a little bit of a cover-up over the years, Scott.
A cover-up?
And I think there may have been a little bit of a conspiracy to kind of hide the nature of the wall.
What evidence do you have that there might have been one?
Well, there have been some excavations that have ended fairly abruptly. There have even been some experts that came out and checked out the wall, gave some opinions, and then when they found out some of the other evidence about the wall, they changed their minds and decided they didn't want to publish any of their findings.
Why do you think somebody would want to hide this? I mean, if it was man-made, you'd think they want people to know.
Some of these people on this land don't want to have an archaeological site on their land because then it can't be developed.
So you think people are worried about the government coming in and taking their land if this is an archaeological site, and they won't let them develop it? Well, I tell you what, I need to see this wall.
The one problem we have is the wall's underground right now.
Okay, aren't there any open excavations?
No open excavations. Over the years, people have dug up the wall and then they always backfill it. I guess they don't want trespassers on their property.
Okay. You know what? I remember in one of the emails I got, wasn't there a guy that spent $80,000 on an excavation?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. His name's Kevin Richardson. He did some excavations on the wall a while back. I think maybe you guys need to meet.
Why would a guy spend tens of thousands of dollars digging up a buried wall? Maybe there's something valuable hidden beneath the wall. Maybe he's looking for fame. Maybe he just really wants the truth about whether an ancient civilization, someone other than Native Americans, could have built this. If this huge wall beneath Rockwall is man-made, it would rewrite history in the Lone Star State. And if it was built by man, who could be responsible? One possibility is the Caddo tribe, who lived here since around 800 AD. It could be the Chinese. They started building a Great Wall of their own in the 7th century BC and are rumored to have made it to America before Columbus. Or it could be people from the very distant past, the ancestors of America's native population. You must be Kevin.
Ah, Scott.
How you doing?
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
All right.
Have a seat.
Well, it's great to meet you. I just talked to Adam, and he mentioned that you're the guy to talk to about the wall.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
Did you really spend 80 grand digging up this wall?
80 grand. I wish it was that small of an amount. It was a whole lot more than that.
Well, obviously you're passionate about this wall. I mean, why did you spend that much money?
The question needed to be answered. Everybody around here has been talking about this for 150 years. Sooner or later, somebody's got to step up and get it done. Let's find out how old it is and what it is.
Well, that is the big question. I mean, is this man-made or is it natural? And I think we hopefully we'll be able to figure that out. But tell me a little bit about the dig. What happened when you did your dig?
Well, I brought some photos over to show you.
That's a hell of a deep hole. How far down did you go?
We wound up going down 42 feet at the very bottom.
Wow.
We've got another photo here. This is an 11-foot span.
That's a beautiful, perfectly straight wall. So what did you hit at the bottom and what made you stop?
I actually hadn't hit the bottom yet, but it began to rain, and it rained for 3 days, and it became a Lake Rockwall.
So that was pretty much it at that point.
And it all fell into the bottom of the ditch.
Oh, it did, okay.
It fell into the bottom of the ditch. We pumped it out and filled it back in with dirt, but the entire wall's laying in the bottom of the hole.
Okay, so this whole thing is filled back in?
Yes. There was a local architect that lived here that produced a map, and in that map he connected all the dots for the outcroppings of the wall. I don't know if it's accurate or not. I'm a fact kind of guy.
Where does this wall go? How far does it go?
They think it's about 3.5 miles wide by 5.6 miles in kind of a rectangular shape.
If this wall is as old, as long, and as tall as people are saying, it could have taken decades to build without the help of modern technology. Maybe even more than a century. For comparison, the Great Wall of China, which stretches 13,000 miles, took many centuries to build. If workers died, their bodies were dumped inside the wall, earning the Great Wall the nickname, the longest cemetery in the world. Maybe we'll find the same thing here. If the Texas rock wall is really as big as I've been told, it would cover roughly 19 square miles and be 7 stories tall. You could fit Cowboy Stadium inside it 169 times. This is a massive undertaking, you realize that?
Huge.
If it's man-made.
For y'all to decide.
Well, you know, all this is great stuff. I love the photos, the map, but I need to see the wall. Is there any place where it's exposed where I could take a look at it?
Well, currently there's no place exposed anywhere in Rockwall. It's all below the grade. But you happen to be in luck. I own an excavation company, and we can go dig that wall up for you.
Well, I love that idea, but you can't just go dig holes anywhere. I mean, don't you need a permit to do this?
Scott, you're in Texas. You don't need a permit here. You want to dig a hole, you go dig a hole.
So, Kevin, you really want to dig this rock wall up again?
Sure, what the hell? Why not? If you're serious about coming out and helping, we'll get that hole dug.
If I get a look at this wall, I promise you that I will draw a conclusion. I'm going to tell you if I think it's man-made or not.
Well, that's been the problem for years and years around here. Nobody will make a definitive answer if it's man-made or natural. So you're now on the hook to make that decision.
No problem. But before we can do that, I need to see this wall. We need a place to dig.
I got a place we can go dig the wall up again. Same place I dug before.
Okay. How soon can we get started?
We can start tomorrow if you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Before the town of Rockwall cropped up in the 1850s, this land was home to the Caddo Indian tribe. They formed an alliance here and called it Tejas. That's where Texas got its name. It's a mystery who lived here before that. I want to get to the truth of who built this ancient rock wall, if indeed anyone built it at all. I'm on my way to the dig site to see what I'm in for. Until I see it for myself, there's no way to know for sure. Hey, Kev, how you doing?
Good, you made it.
So what's the plan here?
Well, this field right back over here, we're going to excavate about over where that tree line is up the hill here.
Okay.
We're going to dig us a nice big old hole.
How do you know we're going to hit the wall here?
Well, about 12 years ago, I dug over in this area, so I got a general idea where the wall's at.
You think you can find it?
I think we can find it.
Okay.
You ready to go to work?
So is this what we're digging with?
This is one of them. We got 2 more machines coming.
2 more?
2 more. Got yours coming right now.
Oh. You're going to teach me how to use it, right?
Absolutely.
Can we get one a little bigger? Our first step, deciding where to dig tomorrow. We're using a map from Kevin's last excavation to figure out where to break ground. It's probably trending right through here. So it's kind of coming off this way.
Yeah,
going this direction.
Goes over this mountain.
Roughly this direction. So that makes a lot of sense. You should hit it. Tomorrow we'll start digging up the wall. Some people think it was built by an early civilization and buried over time. A wall that's 7 stories deep and 20 miles long shouldn't be hard to find. So far, the photos I've seen make a compelling case that ancient people could be involved. My gut tells me it's not the work of the Caddo tribe. They weren't known for building walls. Even if we rule them out, that still leaves their ancestors, the earliest people to live in North America, or possibly the Chinese, who were believed to have made it to America before Columbus. Right now, I'm headed to the local history museum to find out more. Sherry, I'm anxious to hear about the history of the rock wall, and my first question is, when was it first discovered?
Well, the rock wall was actually discovered in 1852, and a local farmer and two of his neighbors were digging a water well, and they dug down and hit a hard type of surface. And when they looked, they said, that looks like a rock wall, and that was the original discovery.
So do we know when the first thought was that this could be a man-made wall?
Well, really, the original discovery, some of the local townspeople saw it and said, we believe this was made by ancient man.
So that question has been burning in people's brains in Rockwall for a long time. Is it man-made or is it natural?
It's the huge mystery of the rock wall, absolutely. This was in 1925, and a gentleman named Count Byron Kuhn de Prorock. He did participate in some digs at Carthage in the 1920s, but he actually wasn't a count, nor was he an archaeologist. But he did have a theory about the rock wall, and he was considered the original tomb raider. He came in, and his conclusion was that this was made by some prehistoric man.
Oh,
so
really?
This was a man-made conclusion.
So long before we had Lara Croft, we had Count, what's his name here?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, this is all great stuff. Is there anything else I should know about the wall?
Well, actually, some people believe that giants may have built it.
Giants.
Giants.
Rockwall, Texas is named after an enormous wall, said to wind for miles beneath the city. Ever since its discovery, the debate has raged. Is the wall natural or man-made? I'm finding out all I can about the wall, and I was just hit with an unbelievable theory. Is there anything else I should know about the wall?
Well, actually, some people believe that giants may have built it.
Giants.
Giants, like 1,000-pound people with large skulls.
Where would a story like this come from? Is there any evidence?
Well, it originated, the story did, in late May of 1886. Our local paper was called the Rockwall Success at that time, and this particular edition had an article that said that the mystery of the rock wall had been solved, that a local farmer had been digging and found a giant skull, huge skull, like a half-bushel size skull.
Is there a skull? A giant skull?
Not that I know of anywhere.
Well, I have to tell you that as silly as this story sounds, I have encountered giants before. There are too many stories of giants going back in Native American cultures to dismiss them. In fact, in Minnesota, I did a little investigation into some giants that were believed to be in some Native American mounds. Now, 1,000-pounders, I don't know, but I think the idea of big people in the past is a real possibility.
And I don't disagree with that assessment in any way, but I think if we're relying on these stories to be our proof of that, I don't think that's the right pathway. But if you see the excavations and look at the rocks, they're just so symmetrical, appear to have mortar between them, so they appear to the layman's eye as something that would have been constructed.
Okay, well, as a geologist, I've got to see the walls, and I think I'm going to get an opportunity to do that with Kevin. He's talking about teaching me how to use some heavy equipment, actually pulling back some of the earth and looking at this wall.
Well, we have a portion of the rock wall on my family's property.
You do?
We do, and I'd love for you to come see it if you'd like to.
Let's go. I'm eager to see the wall in Sherry's backyard. I'm hoping to get to the bottom of this mystery that's more than a century and a half old. In 1852, 3 Texas farmers were digging a well and instead found a massive wall. I can only imagine the thoughts that went through their heads. The way I see it, there are only 2 possibilities. The wall is natural or man-made. And if it's man-made, the next question is, who's responsible? The size and scope of the wall would make it one of the greatest man-made structures on American soil. As for giants, I'm still skeptical about that. What are you going to show me here?
Well, the rock wall actually runs underground of this property, but we have several rocks from a 1976 excavation of the rock wall.
In any investigation that involves rocks, the most important thing, or one of the most important things you need to know, is what kind of rock is it? Sandstone and limestone have been used to build things throughout history. They were relatively easy to cut and shape. If the wall is made of either stone, it might support the case that it's man-made. There's a couple things I want to do here. One is a simple scratch test, just to get some idea of how hard the rock is. A knife has or steel has a hardness of 5, and so if it's softer than that, if it scratches it, that means it has to be softer. If it slides across, then the rock is harder than the knife. So let's just do that. Well, it scratches the rock, so it's softer than a hardness of 5, so it's probably in the neighborhood of 3 to 4. It's relatively soft, and I want to determine what its chemistry is. One way I can start to do that is by taking a little dilute hydrochloric acid, and I'm going to drop it on here, and if it fizzes, then it's calcium carbonate. If it doesn't, then it's something else. It's fizzing. Do you see how it's bubbling?
Uh-huh, I do.
That tells me that this is more than likely limestone of some kind.
You can see how people might think it was man-made. You can imagine these rocks stacked on top of each other with mortar in between, and I have some photos I'd like to show you.
Yeah, let's take a look.
In Kevin's excavations, he's also found a few things that he thinks look man-made. This is one of them, like a window or a porthole.
Well, this is certainly round with small stones in a circular pattern. Could be man-made.
And this is another, like steps going upward.
I take it these holes here is what he's calling the steps. These are spaced 24, 30 inches apart. I guess if you're going to entertain the idea of giants, this would make some sense.
Well, I'm not sure about giants, but I do think Kevin thinks this is all evidence for man-made.
Well, I can see why he thinks that, and tomorrow when we start the dig, we'll get some more answers. Heading to the dig site, I'm pretty pumped. So far, I've seen a few things that make me think this wall could be man-made. Photos show rocks piled atop each other that look just like modern masonry. They're connected by what appears to be mortar. And scientific tests of the rocks pulled from the site prove they're limestone, rocks that are easy to cut, shape, and assemble. All this makes me think the wall could be man-made. But first, we need to find the wall. How you doing, Kev?
Yeah, Scott, what's going on?
What's the plan here today?
Well, the plan is we're going to go over here, and we're going to dig from about that fence line up that hill, and we're going to dig a nice big hole, and we've got to go find the wall.
I can't wait to see the massive wall that's supposedly hidden underneath this field. Kevin's going to dig in the spot we decided on yesterday. If the wall is really 7 stories tall and long enough to enclose 19 square miles, the chance we'll hit it is pretty good.
We got wall, baby.
You got wall, all right.
There's
You got
the wall. Well, now we know where it's at.
So let me ask you this. What orientation are these? Were they vertical or were they laying this way
They were
in the hill?
vertical, running down the length of the wall.
Okay, so like this, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, here's my next question. What is the orientation? Is the wall running roughly this way?
It runs basically east-west.
Okay.
During the salsa, it falls straight in line with the west sun.
Get out of here.
East-west, it does.
I like that.
When I was digging up before, that's what it was. East-west orientation.
Do you think maybe there's a connection there somehow?
That's for you to decide. It's above my pay grade.
If this wall were aligned with the sun's path on the longest day of the year, that would be important. I've seen solstice alignments before. I've seen them at Stonehenge in England, at the Newport Tower in Rhode Island, and at the Mayan ruins in Mexico. It's called archaeoastronomy. Many ancient people constructed their surroundings with the sun and planets in mind. They didn't have clocks and calendars the way we do. They needed the sun. And not surprisingly, in many cases, they worshiped the sun too. Okay, well, if this is aligned with the solstice, that could be a huge clue. That this is man-made. Let's dig.
Let's go get them, man.
All right, let's drive this sucker. All right, so here's my gas, here's my brake, forward, reverse. This tilts the bucket. All right.
All you have to do is put it in forward, you'll move.
All right. You ready, Kev?
I'm ready, brother. Just turn to the right a little bit, and then, yeah, there you go, spin it around. And then start straightening the machine up. Go in, give her gas.
Okay.
And roll the bucket now. Roll, roll. Perfect.
Come on.
Make your quick turn, real quick. Get where you want to dump, and then straighten it out at the last.
All right.
Straighten her out, straighten out. Up, 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 up. And dump. Perfect.
This is quite a hole here.
Yeah. We're getting it, Doug.
You know what I'd like to do is just kind of bang on the rocks here a little bit, get a sense of what's happening here, and make sure I understand what you've got here. Is this part of the wall here?
That's the wall of the joint.
And that's part of it too? It's pretty hard. I'm getting a sense of where the wall is here relative to the other rock, but I think I've seen enough here just to give me a general sense of what's going on at this level. I want to know what's going on down there.
We're fixing to find out. We're going to get you a big, deep hole.
What I'm not getting is a sense of whether or not this wall is man-made. I need to see more. I reached out to a professor, John Geisman at the University of Texas, about possibly doing some paleomagnetic testing. Tomorrow, what I'd like to do is bring John here and see if we can get some more data to try to answer this question. Is this thing a natural formation, or is it man-made by some ancient race, who knows, thousands of years ago? I visited with Sherry Fowler, and she mentioned giants could be involved. What do you know about that?
There was a big rumor about the giants from 150 years ago, but when I excavated up the hill, uncovered a section of the wall that was about 11 feet tall and had 3 step holes in it, about 33 inches apart. They were clearly a left foot, right foot, and left foot.
So it had to be a big guy to climb out of there.
One would think.
Do you think the giants built this wall?
That's for you guys to figure out. I'm just digging a hole.
Okay. I'm on my way back to the dig site. Kevin thinks an early civilization may have built the wall that lies buried beneath the town of Rockwall. There's a chance the wall may be an example of archaeoastronomy, how ancient people oriented their surroundings with the sun, moon, and planets. Before we can tackle the archaeoastronomy question, we need to figure out if this wall is man-made or natural. And the testing I'm about to do with my friend John should give us a definitive answer. Well, you got a heck of a pile of dirt there.
Yeah, wait till you see the hole we got down here.
Damn, Kevin. Look at this. You made a lot of progress.
Yeah, we worked a few hours to get that the excavation site that deep. We're down total about 20-some feet, but the next dig was about 8 or 10 foot, most of it.
It sure looks man-made when you stand right here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I don't see the footholds for the giants yet, but maybe one day.
Do you see where the joints are?
Right.
And, I mean, that looks like modern masonry right there. You know, they tooled the joints, and, I mean, it really does.
I'm sure glad you went ahead and stepped up and pronounced the walls man-made.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I have not rendered an opinion yet. We got more work to do here. Hey, John. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good. Hey, this is my friend Kevin. This is John.
Pleasure to meet you.
All right. Well, hey, listen, I invited John to come out here and help us out.
No, basically what we're going to do is measure the magnetism of these materials. You can think of it as an arrow, a memory in the rock. Right? Okay. It's kind of like measuring the DNA of a material, kind of. And if this memory is really ancient, say at the time this material formed, then we should be able to very, very easily test whether or not this is an intact feature, undisturbed, versus something that was put together as a bunch of random rocks to make a wall.
Paleomagnetism is the study of permanent magnetism in rocks. It's based on the orientation of the Earth's magnetic field at the time the rocks were formed. By studying the intensity and direction of the magnetization, scientists can determine if the rocks are in their original position or if they were moved.
Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill cores in the rocks, a number of different cores. I'm going to orient the cores so we know exactly how they sat out here at Rockwall. Then we're going to take them back to the lab. We're going to slice them into specimens, and then we're going to measure the magnetization in the specimens.
Then what'll come out of all this?
Well, we should be able to discern whether or not that memory in these materials, right, is consistent through the wall or random. If it's random, one interpretation is that this was put together. This was built.
By somebody.
Exactly.
I'll be glad when y'all make that definitive answer and everybody knows.
Right now, that's our plan, but we've got some work to do, so should we head down?
Let's go.
John and I took samples from different parts of the wall and noted their exact positions. When we get to the lab, we'll be able to determine the direction of each sample's magnetization. Well, guys, I thought that went pretty well. John, are you happy with the samples we got?
Samples are excellent.
Okay, they're gonna work. Okay.
They're gonna work.
Well, Kev, here's the way I see it. In 1852, when those three farmers found the rock wall digging the well, what they found was one of three possibilities. One is that this is an amazing natural geologic feature. Two, it could be a man-made wall by some unknown culture in the distant past, perhaps thousands of years ago. Or a third possibility is it could be a combination of the two. Some culture built a man-made wall on top of a pre-existing geologic feature.
People of Rockwall, Texas, that's all they've been wanting to know for the last 150 years between you guys. Hopefully we'll get this thing wrapped up and we'll be able to give everybody a definitive answer on what it is.
I spent the last couple of days in Texas digging up a massive underground wall. It's the reason for the town's name, Rockwall. Ever since the wall was discovered back in 1852, people have disagreed about whether it's natural or man-made. Many people believe it was once above ground and was the work of some early civilization, maybe even giants. If the wall was made by people, not nature, it could be an example of archaeoastronomy. Kevin thinks it lines up with the summer solstice. That's the sort of thing ancient people regularly did to mark the changing seasons. When I get to John Geisman's lab at the University of Texas at Dallas, we'll use a high-tech process called paleomagnetic analysis to settle the natural or man-made question once and for all. So John, I don't use paleomagnetic analysis in my everyday work, so can you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure, Scott. Paleomagnetism is the study of the fossil magnetism in geologic materials. Basically, by virtue of the way rocks form, they have the capability of acquiring a net magnetization that's aligned in the direction of the Earth's magnetic field. You can think of this net magnetization as an arrow, simply.
If the arrows, the magnetization, point the same way, that proves the wall is natural. If you were using rocks to make a wall, you would almost certainly set them down randomly. So, if the arrows point in a bunch of different directions, that would mean Rockwall's rock wall is indeed man-made.
It should be a very definitive test.
Sounds good to me. Should we do it?
Certainly.
All right, John, the money's on the table. Is this thing a natural geologic deposit or is it man-made? What John told me is something Kevin needs to hear. I'm headed back to the dig site to deliver the news. I've also invited Adam, the guy who tipped me off about this amazing wall. Well, guys, hey, first of all, I want to start off by thanking you for sending me an email and getting me tuned into this amazing rock wall. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, my pleasure.
I've had a chance to look at the test results, and it's clear and conclusive. It's a natural geologic feature. It's not man-made. What we found was that the arrows for the stone are consistent. They're definitely all pointing pretty much in the same direction.
At least we know the truth now. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't know for sure before, now we know. So
Yeah.
when did the formation, when was it created?
I was talking to John about that, and we think that this was about 85, 86, 87 million years old. So it's very old. And based on the information that we know now, it predates humans being on the planet.
Sure.
You know, that's another reason why it really can't be man-made.
Well, you're the expert, and if we were the experts, we wouldn't have called you. So we appreciate you coming out.
Everything that you guys have said and thought about this wall being so amazing is still valid. Sometimes nature plays tricks and pulls a fast one on us, and this is one of those times.
Good. Well, it's still a part of the local heritage, and obviously the town was named for it. So it's good to know that it is a unique formation, something we can still be proud of.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks like a man-made wall. It absolutely does. This is the most unusual geologic phenomena I have probably ever seen. It turns out this geological formation is a massive sand dike. There are several hundred feet of clay beneath the surface here. Millions of years ago, that clay hardened and cracked. Overlying pressure of the hardened clay forced a juicy mix of clay, sand, and water up through the fracture. Eventually, it hardened, broke up naturally into blocks, and became the rock wall. It's totally unique. It's really an amazing thing. So nothing to be disappointed about. It's still an incredible, unique feature for Rockwall, and they should still be proud of it. I didn't know what to expect when I headed to Texas. A lot of people had written to tell me the same thing. Check out the rock wall underneath the town of Rockwall and reveal the truth about its origins. The three farmers who first unearthed the rock wall back in 1852 may not have found a man-made wall, but they discovered one of the most unique natural geologic wonders I've ever seen. They say people do things big in the Lone Star State, and the huge hole Kevin Richardson excavated for me certainly lives up to that expression. Once the wall was unearthed, I was able to figure out it's been there for millions of years, long before humans ever walked the earth. The wall wasn't built by an early civilization. It wasn't built by giants either, but it's still something Rockwall residents can be proud of. And now they know the truth.
Next time on America Unearthed.
This whole city of Washington is filled with symbols left here by a secret society.
Did the founding fathers embed these symbols that indicate goddess worship? This is the connection that ties it to the Freemasons. If you have a mysterious artifact or site I need to see, I want to know about it. Go to history.com/unearthed.